What's going on, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers? It's your boy Porter Rock 77, your only friend in these YouTube streets. And now it's my long-awaited review of Days Gone. All right, so I know a lot of people have been asking me about it, about my thoughts. So here we go. Right. So, but a couple of things I want to say up front. Number one, it took me a while to beat this game and play this game because of work and all that stuff. So there's going to be a couple of things I want to say up front. I didn't get to play the game a lot when the game first launched, so a lot of the bug issues I didn't experience because I wasn't playing the game much. Right, I didn't really get into the game and really deep into the game and putting hours into the game to maybe like a month and a half after release. And by that point, Sony Bend provided a lot of updates for stability and stuff like that. So my review is not going to cover the issues that people had in the beginning. My review is not supposed to invalidate their experiences. Again, I didn't play the game at launch or during the first 2 weeks or whatever. So this review won't invalidate any of those reviews. This is just from the current perspective of how the game is now. So if you have not played the game now or haven't played it already, then that's the perspective of what I'm coming from. If you played the game, when the game first launched, then a lot of the issues you may have experienced, I won't be able to talk to because again, it took me a long while to actually get into the game. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing I might mention is if I feel I might be presenting a spoiler, I'm gonna say up front what the spoiler is, or I'm gonna give you a warning saying, hey, I'm about to talk to a spoiler, right? And then I'm gonna talk to you about it, right? When I'm done mentioning the spoiler, I'm gonna give my thumbs up. All right, the reason why I'm going to do that is, let's say if you don't want to hear the spoiler, then fast forward, the video, and when you see me lift up the thumbs up, that means, you're safe from hearing any spoilers. Does that make sense? So, for example, if I were to start saying, hey, I'm about to mention a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, start forwarding right now. At this point, you could stop you could go back and press play, because that's my signal to let you know you don't have to fast forward anymore. Make sense? All right, so here we go, my review. So one other thing, just to let you know, caveat, because I know one of the big things is people reviewing games that they don't actually play or whatever. I know that's a thing in YouTube and whatever, in the community. A lot of people reviewing games, yet they don't actually play. So as you can see, not only did I play it, but I'm the 1%er right here. So I actually got the platinum to this game. And here we go. So we're going to talk about this. Okay, so what's Days Gone? Days Gone is one of Sony's first party studios, Sony Bend's project into open world. I don't want to say post-apocalyptic. It's more of the immediate or closely related after effect of a zombie outbreak. All right. Now in this game they call them freakers, all right, whatever, but it's still pretty much the same of a recent zombie outbreak. So think of Walking Dead, but not 10, 20 years ahead, more like a year to 2 years. Let's say 2 years, you could say, post outbreak, okay? Your character's name is Deacon St. John, former Army military, part of a biker club. So you got that, what's that show called? That biker show that was very popular. Sons of Anarchy. So you got that Sons of Anarchy type, character, and he has him and his buddy Boozer, whatever. I don't want to go too detailed into story because it's still pretty basic. It's pretty much him trying to just deal with this world, post-apocalyptic. Governments pretty much have been shut down, stuff like that. So now society is trying to survive on their own. And the location of this event is in Oregon. So within Oregon, now you got people trying to survive. This world where some type of chemical release or whatever is causing the freakers, the zombie outbreak, right? So as a St. John biker, hey, you got the main key. You drive a bike, all right? That's the main transportation in this game. The way this game laid it out, it kind of makes sense. With resources getting low and stuff, it makes sense that the most common, and also being biker thing, but the most common transportation that works is the bike, since it's least intrusive in terms of repairs and maintenance as compared to trucks and cars and all that stuff, right? Because that makes sense? All right. So what's the basic layout? It's traditional open world game, and with traditional open world games, you have certain plot points and stuff. A little symbol here, you drive there, do a mission. You drive over there, you do a mission. You have base camps and stuff like that. Really traditional stuff, so you're not going to see anything groundbreaking from this game from that perspective, right? Okay? In this game, it revolves around a total of 5 camps, all right? And each camp has a distinct, or at least 3 of them have a distinct personality, all right? But in my opinion, the personalities wasn't that great that made me engaged. And I'm going to talk more about the negative side later on, but I'm just trying to give you a layout, okay? Within each camp, you're able to get special things. Weapons, you're able to upgrade your bike, which is a really important factor to the game, and I'll explain why in a few as I go on with this review. But you're able to get, primarily mostly, is just really upgrading your bike and upgrading your weapons, really, okay? That's pretty much it. Each camp provides a different aspect of upgrades. Like one camp is very good at upgrading your bike, but not so much as your weapons, while another camp is more weapons intensive, all right? As part of the upgrades, you're able to access these upgrades through the trust level of each camp. So each camp, you gain a trust level, and there's 3 levels to each camp, all right? Every camp has 3 levels, and level 1, level 2, level 3 unlocks certain equipment that you're able to purchase, okay? The way you unlock them or earn trust to these camps is simply by doing missions or turning in bounties. Bounties meaning every zombie or freaker that you kill, you collect their ear and you turn in their ears. Doesn't explain why you did that. That's pretty much weird. Maybe they just want to see, you know, you're doing your part in clearing up the area of freakers, and collecting their ears is proof that you kill freakers. I don't know. It doesn't really, you know, it's kind of weird because the ears isn't how you buy stuff. The ears, you just get credit. So overall credit or cash, whatever, is how you're able to buy stuff within the camp. So there is a certain currency system that's in there, right? Throughout the game, again, a little abandoned garages, houses, and stuff like that, where you try to collect resources and scrap, you know, to build weapons and create Molotov grenades, and you get all types of stuff. I'm not gonna go into too detail because if you decide to play the game, it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple. You know, you create bandages and stuff. There's nothing really new to this game. Okay, right? My review's not sounding too positive, right? You'll see as I go on. Okay, the map is huge. And you drive everywhere. The one thing I like about the game is it has a very good fast travel system, and to me that's very important, because if you don't have a good fast travel system and you're forced or you constantly have to drive from point to point, it'll get monotonous. You know, I personally don't like driving gameplay, especially in open world games. You know, I don't like games that are artificially inflated in hours, like, oh, I put in 500 hours in this game, but 300 hours of it is traveling. That's not fun gameplay. So this game does have a good travel system as you unlock certain areas that you're able to get to different parts of the map. The caveat to that is, though, is based on the performance of your bike. You see, with your bike, you have to fuel it, and also over time it degrades. So you always have to find ways to repair it with scraps, and you have to fuel it. Now, the fuel doesn't get out of hand. So, for example, if you find a fuel can, every fuel can will fuel your bike. It's unlimited. So it's not like Mad Max. If you guys played Mad Max, the fuel cans that you find is very limited in amount, so it can only fill up your car for a certain amount. And Days Gone, you don't have that problem. Anytime you find a fuel gas station or a fuel can, you'll fill up everything 100% to the max. So at least they didn't make that too monotonous. But you still have to have fuel. So there could be parts, especially towards the beginning of the game, where you didn't upgrade. You know, you have like a level 1 gas tank, right? So level 4, you're not going to be able to go all across the map. And in fast travel, there's only so far you can go. And then from there, you have to, you know, fuel up or whatever. Or the health of the bike as well. But over time, as you upgrade your bike, upgrade your fuel tank, the durability and stuff like that, you'll be able to fast travel to further and further places. Also, in the beginning of the game, you'll have a tendency to run out of gas fast. Almost feels like you're only doing 1 mile per gallon, which just feels terrible. But over time, as you improve, you know, the trust level of these camps and you buy better parts, you know, again, apparently, or very importantly, is the gas tanks, you'll see the improvement and stuff, and the games get better at that. So I'll give the game that. You see a progression and stuff, which I don't want to say forces you, but it gives you reason to do the trust camp level, okay? So with that. Now, with that, the controls are good, very good controls. You'll be fighting a lot in that game. You'll definitely fight a lot of zombies. When it comes time to start facing the horde, and I'll talk more about that, it's an exhilarating experience, right? So the character does grow in terms of capabilities. You'll get better weapons, you'll get weapons to improve, better scopes, extended mags, and stuff like that. But it mostly comes from you purchasing them or you doing certain things that unlocks it, right? Now, let's talk about the positives, okay? The positives, I will say this. Positives is it's a nice, varied open world game, right? A lot of places, if you play with a headset, it's very challenging. The zombies will really freak you out. The game is very dynamic, all right? Again, you live in a dynamic world, open world, where everything tries to kill you and everything tries to kill each other. For example, in this game, you have people trying to kill you. You know, they're called, rest in peace, marauders. You know, people just doing bad stuff, taking advantage of a bad situation, right? But then you also have wolves, bears, mountain lions. You have the zombies. You have zombified wolves, zombified bears, right? And all these creatures, right? They're very random in how they attack, okay? Because you'll see cougars attack, people attacking you. Or they might, they'll attack them, or a bear will attack a cougar. It's just so random on what things happen in that game. So you can tell the way Sony Bend made the game, it isn't scripted, okay? Obviously, the marauders and the people that are enemies, they're designed to kill you, but out of the blue, a cougar could come and kill them. Or a little zombie, or a bunch of zombies could come in and just try to kill everybody, you and self included, right? I'll give you one example. So there's we'll say this is a spoiler. So right now, this is a quick spoiler. Not too big, but just in case. Nah, it's not really a spoiler. I think this would be good for you guys to know. This is something you guys could to know. So like in open world, people set up trap, right? So these bad guys set up trap. And then one trap is you'll get hooked. They'll do like a little trap to where, like the old school trap where the string's down the tree or ropes down the tree, and then you step on it, and, you go up to the sky. So they do those type of traps, right? And next thing you know, they come, they knock you out, and now you're stuck in their camp, right? So one of the things is you have to escape their camp, right? And that happened to me a couple of times, and each time I escaped by killing them, stabbing them, and get my weapons back. But there was one occasion where, again, I got captured. I'm like, okay, I've done this before already. But as soon as I stepped out and attempted my escape, the whole area where normally you have to try and escape and kill everybody, a big horde of freakers, zombies, just came in and just mollywopped everybody. And I'm just standing there with a knife like, oh, snap. So I just walked back into my cage and I just waited. And while I'm waiting there with my headsets, all I'm hearing is the guy screaming, they're shooting, and you hear the zombies, rah, rah, rah. And then the gunplay stopped, right? Everything stopped. And then I waited. Maybe a few minutes, then I looked back out, and the zombies were already off in the distance. They pretty much cleared and killed everybody, right? That's how unscripted the game is. Normally that level is for you to try to escape, but that's not, the world of Days Gone is pretty much very diverse, and, and again, you really don't know what's going to happen at any time. You just really don't. And I found that impressive, and that's how the game is. It's a very unscripted world where anything out of the blue, just out of nowhere, something random. A pack of wolves just come out of nowhere, and you're trying to, quietly sneak into a base. And all of a sudden, you're being attacked by wolves, or the wolves attack the camp, And the wolves attacking the camp, they decoy or like use that as an opportunity to sneak in and do something, It's just a game, very random game, and you can appreciate that, right? Weapons, there's weapons everywhere. But again, they're not your weapons, because your weapons, you have to purchase them, right? And this is a negative that I personally don't like, all right? But I'll get into that once I get to my positives, right? Ultimately for this game, open world, motorbike, there's a story, in-depth story to this. Obviously, ultimately, I don't want to break it, because there's really no way for me to explain the story without spoiling it. But there is a story to it, all right? Well, there's a good story. I'm going to tell you in a few minutes how I feel about that. But weapons, good controls, huge map, very dynamic weather. Graphically, it looks beautiful. Again, I played this game a couple of weeks out after launch. So by the time I really got into it, I already had all the updates and patches that they fixed. So it's a beautiful, graphically looking game. Daytime and nighttime weather changes. Snow. Incredible snow engine, whatever engine they use, because little by little trickle snows and raises, your bike gets full of snow cars, all right? Very diverse locations, from caves, you drive in tunnels, you're in the mountains, you're in cities, smaller cities, I guess, what would be considered like that in Oregon. Very huge and diverse map with a lot of stuff, okay? So, I'm going to start out with the negatives. Normally they say start out the positives, but I'm going to start out with the negatives. because a lot of negatives are going to be in the beginning of the game and halfway into the game, all right? So, the story took a long time for it to click. I was not really enjoying the game. The characters didn't really click with me. The camps didn't really click with me. Like, nothing was clicking. You know, I wasn't really enjoying it. I appreciate the difficulty. I appreciate the challenge the game was providing. But it just felt like for a while, like, why am I doing this? It's again, remember when I said in the beginning it was typical? Again, there was typical open world game. They had its moments, like I said, the diversity, but even after you went through it, it didn't last long in terms of positive effect. Like, oh, that's cool that this happened, and then after a while, I'm back to very bored. It really took a while for the game to pick up. I would say by when you unlock the third camp, halfway into it, that's when the story started getting into it. That's when the so what behind the game started getting into it, right? But by that point, I probably put in 30, 40 hours. The reason why I stuck with it is because people kept telling me, stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with it, whatever. And then the second reason is the horde missions, which I will get into it. Because I read online about the horde missions. I really wanted to do the horde missions. So that's what made me get stuck. But if it wasn't for that, I probably would have stopped playing the game. So if you play this game and it doesn't click, it's going to be like that for a long while. And I can't rightfully say, or just stick with it because you love it, because I won't know if you actually love it. I finally ended up appreciating the story, but it took 30, 40 hours, and most people isn't going to last that long. But there's potential that if you do stick with it, the story will click, right? And in combination, by that point, your character be leveled up, you'll experience more of the map, you'll experience more of the storylines, there's places you'll explore, and there's things that will upgrade your character. There's a skill tree. I didn't even mention that. But there's like skill trees that you'll get that improves your character's performance in shooting, fighting, survival, which is pretty good and stuff like that. So it should get better. Again, different people's opinion, but it did get better for me after a while. It started clicking. It started getting excited. For the first 30, 40 hours, there were times I didn't even want to play it. I was like, there were times I come home, I'm like, I'm not going to play today. It wasn't the type of game where I come from work, I'm like, whoa, I can't wait to play it. But once halfway after unlocking the third camp, I wanted to play it. I got into it. My bike was souped up. I was able to fast travel further places. And the game was just getting tougher, and there was more things going on, right? And the story was clicking. So I did appreciate it, but it took a while, which I will say is more negative because it shouldn't take that long, right? None of the negative I don't like. Again, you're in a post-apocalyptic world as best described, right? And you got weapons everywhere. But really the only weapons that you can certify, keep, and improve whatever is the one you purchase. So all the weapons on the ground, you really can't do nothing. I wish they would have done something to where you could collect these weapons and use them as scrap. Maybe create a system where you can improve your weapon that you did buy. They should have done something more in terms with those weapons. It just felt weird, And the reason why I said it felt weird, there was one area where I got like the best machine gun in the game. I didn't buy it. You could buy it, but I found it. But it's not mine because it won't let me keep it. So if at any point I lose it, it's gone because I didn't purchase it, right? So that's what was my thing about that game and stuff like that, all right? So the story, the way they handled the weapons, okay, the bike, I got over it overall. Some of you may love it because you get to explore a lot of different places and stuff. But for me, again, I really don't like driving gameplay because to me it's fake gameplay. You're not really spending hours driving. It's just nonsense. But the fast travel will alleviate that stuff, all right? What I do like is the controls, all right, for the game, especially when it comes to the horde. The shooting's good. You get to do headshots. You get the classic, you click on the button, you get the slow-mo fighting effect and stuff like that. So that's pretty good. The melee combat's pretty good. Very visceral with the melee combat, so I appreciate that. The melee weapons, they break, so you always have to find a way to fix it. But that's also part of the skill tree, which I highly recommend that you do. So ultimately, overall, it was a good experience in that game, all right? Ultimately, it was a good experience. I personally will give the game a 7.5. The reason why it's 7.5 to 8. The reason why that window is because there's a lot of hours in the game where the story doesn't click for you. It didn't click for me, all right? And I think a lot of people would just stop playing the game. And I think that's where most of the negative reviews came from. Because there's only so much you can tolerate, you know, from a game that, you know, you put in 20, 30, 40 hours and it's still not clicking. It took so long to get to the so what behind the game. And no game should be like that. Now, I'm going to mention things you get to do in a game. The number one, probably the best thing about the game is the horde, right? So what is the horde? So in the storyline, you'll ultimately learn, and I don't want to say this is a spoiler because this is a big part of the game and you've probably seen it, is pack of freakers, they lump together and there's different regions throughout the map and they are pretty much where the hordes, where big groups of these freakers congregate and they travel to different parts of the map, right? There's different areas. Maybe I think there's like about 15, 20 of them, all right? They vary in different sizes, okay? Ultimately, by the end of the game or even after the end of the game, one of the things you have to do is clear out and try to kill all the hordes, right? And some of them get up to like 300, you know, freakers that chase after you. It's a very intense moment that you definitely want to do it once you power up and suit up and get the best weapons, because they will mess you up. You're talking World War Z. They are chasing you down, right? And it's been an amazing experience. That's probably the best thing I love about the game is the horde, and that's what. And I was glad that I pushed through it because the horde delivered on everything that I wanted from them. You go to different spheres. You go to different areas. You know, ultimately you'll find intel. You know, for example, you go to a marauder camp, right? And your job is to take out the marauders, and then each marauder camp, they have like an underground little, you know, safe haven, and then you'll find maps which are unlocked different areas. You know, this is a horde area, this is a neurosite being a place where you can upgrade your health, your stamina, your focus and stuff, so you'll be able to improve on yourself, right? So you go to this horde camp, the whole entire screen, you know, the radar is red, and you're slowly creeping up, and you see like 200, 300 hordes. Some are 50, 75. They vary. You probably saw on Twitter where, oh, look at the hordes. There's only like 30 of them. Sony lied. That's because that's a smaller horde. And they're not showing you the bigger hordes. Again, each region, the hordes vary, okay? But when you approach them, you'll hear them, you'll see them, and then you see like a whole legion of them. And you're like, Jesus, how the hell am I going to kill them all? And you have to strategically plan, place traps, use bombs, you know, have ammo, pre-plan everything, look at the area, scope out to see if there's fire barrels and stuff. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to kill all of them. If you kill every horde, you clear that area, and you'll see on the screen, you know, Red River Horde, you know, eliminated. And then you'll get, you know, trust points, which goes towards whatever's the closest camp in that region. That's part of the mission sets, whatever. And they are exhilarating. Fighting the hordes is so exhilarating that the game has a survivor mode, or, you know, challenge mode, which Sony Bend has been delivering free DLC where you have to do different things, and all you do is fight hordes for, you know, how long you can survive. You know, it has different metrics and stuff like that. I did one mission, stuff like that, but I haven't really gone too deep into that because, as you can see, let me see if I could back out of this. Let me see if I could back out of this real quick. Give me a second. And overview. Okay, so as you can see right here, even though I got the plat, I'm only at 77% because there are trophies to that mode, right? And I haven't really played that mode. I moved on to other games and stuff like that. But if you're really into the hordes, there's a lot of people doing that. I just try to move on, especially I recently got the PSVR, okay? So, what's the so what behind my review? The so what is behind this, all right? Again, I gave the game a 7.5 to 8, all right? It's very slow in the beginning. It might make you quit. Potentially, if you stick with the game, halfway, when you get to the third camp, halfway into the storyline, it finally clicks, and it is an amazing story, all right? Great map, great open world, lots of diverse locations, lots of stuff to kill, lots of stuff that's going to kill you, very diverse snowy mountains, it snows, it rains, just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Driving at night freaks you out. Zombies, when you're doing the middle mission, and a whole bunch of zombies come out, freaks you out, especially if you got a headset. The game constantly freaks you out because there's always something trying to kill you. Amazing experience in terms of that, in terms of the gameplay. All right. The characters, none of the characters really click for me. All right. Deacon St. John, cool character, but not the type that would click like Nathan Drake or Kratos. He didn't click to me, but overall it's a good game in terms like that. Again, 7.5 to 8 window range for me personally. Now, the future of this game as a franchise. What does Sony need to do for this game to improve it, to really get to top tier? Number one thing is the storyline. It has to be, within the first 5-6 hours, it has to click. You have to make people click with it. 2, better characters. The characters aren't memorable. They don't click. They just don't do anything for me, all right? It's just it. Deacon St. John is probably the close, but he's no Nathan Drake. He's no Alloy. He's just, the actor who portrayed him did a good job, but he needs more personality, I says. He needs something else, all right? Something that bites, all right? The relationship between him and his best friend Boozer, there needs to be better. Something that really appreciates them two, okay? The game needs to be bigger. If it's going to be a PlayStation 5, the one thing that disappointed me in terms of diverse locations is their representation of a city. They didn't really have big cities there. I don't know if it's an Oregon thing. I'm pretty sure Oregon has big cities. But I think, you have your rural country area, you have your rural farms, you have the camps, but then you have there should be big cities that are isolated or whatever, emptied out, with, big buildings and highways and all that stuff. And I think that would have made a big impact and stuff like that. They need to do a better job with the scrapping system. Like I said, there's weapons everywhere, but you really can't do anything with it. I think they need to merge or come up with a better system of how you gain access to weapons, and the weapons that are all over have some type of system where you could use them, to improve your other weapons, create new weapons, modify weapons, something. Because it just doesn't make sense that you see all these weapons everywhere and you really can't do nothing with it, even though you're in a post-apocalyptic world and stuff. Each camp, I think they need to have more stuff. More diversity in weapons, more diversity in bikes. It's very basic, the stuff that they have in there, okay? So I think if Sony was able to improve that game in terms of, like I said, better characters, better story that really hooks you in much more quicker so you can enjoy it throughout the game. The fast travel system's good. The bike, I'm good. Everything in the bike, they have a lot of upgrades. So if you're into bike upgrades, custom paint jobs, decals, they go the whole shebang. They do a good job with that one. So I really don't have an issue with how they did the fast travel in the bike. The Horde, love it. Love those missions. I would like to see a few more missions. I think what would have helped, I will say this also, in the game, there's certain things that happen that would have been great as a decision point. For example, there's things in the game where Deacon St. John kills people or whatever. But it would have been nice if those points would have been more like, do you choose to let the person live or do you kill them? And now you have to deal with the consequences of those decisions. Those would have been great implementation into the game, because that impacts your relationship with these camps and all that. The decision that you make out in the woods, who you let live, who you let die. If one camp says, hey, this guy gotta die, go find him, then when you find him, he tells you this sob story. Now you're like, do I believe him or do I not believe him? And then you choose whether to live and die. And then you have to deal with the impact. I think that would have been a great part to the game, but in this game you don't get choice. The character will pretty much choose. It's already done. What's going to happen is going to happen. I think you having those choices will improve and get you closer to the game and stuff like that. Each of the camps, I would say overall, nothing really different about any of them, which I would say is another reason why I didn't click, because there's little differences, but not big. It would have been better if each of the camps would have had some type of distinct identity, which is in contrast with the rest of the camps. So that way, you're not easily friending them all, Because again, this is a post-apocalyptic world and everybody's looking out for their own self-interest. But everybody in this game is pretty much the same, you know. There should have been more contrast to how you deal with each camp, you know, and each camp is nervous about the other and stuff. You know what I mean? I think that would have put out more personality in the game. Overall, if you like open world games, if you like Red Dead Redemption, if you like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and stuff like that, if you like open world games where you do a lot of stuff, Grand Theft Auto, whatever, this is that type of game. But I warn you, it's very slow. You might be like, you know what, Puerto Rico, I can't take this. And I can't blame you if you can't take it. If you're the type that you need the story to hook you in quickly, you know, and even by quickly, within the first 10 hours, this game is not for you. You know what I'm saying? If you need the story to need the story to be the hook, this game is not for you. I powered through it. Eventually I did enjoy it, but like I said, it was like 30, 40 hours into it. You know, and that's the best, and that's the review I could tell you. All right. So anyway, this has been going on for 30 minutes. So I'm gonna let you go. Hey, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit the like button. Let me know what you think. My next review is gonna be on PSVR. I got my PSVR for my birthday. Played a couple of games, so I'm gonna give you my personal opinion over the whole VR and how I like it, the games I beat and played, and just my view on it. All right. But anyway, this is your boy Puerto Rock 77, your only friend in this YouTube streets, and I'll see you soon with my PSVR review. All right. You guys take care. Peace.